Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and I just finished taping an episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler, or Tyler and Mike. They're brilliant hosts. You've got to listen. You've got to see. Count It Out. Yeah, I endorse it. They've got the After Chat seal of approval.
Dudes and dudettes, this is Travis Moore, the Day Tripper. And don't be a bitch. Listen to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Sealed of Approved Count It Out with Mike, and Tyler this week. We have two Mikes in the house. One is just not enough, Mike. I'm going to have to call you Count It Out, Mike, and I'm going to call you Barrie, Mike. We have the voice of Barrie Wrestling joining us.
I've been Mojito Mike for 2 years. You can stick with that.
All right, we'll go Mojito Mike. And Mike, I'll tell you what, you do the honors. Introduce our guest today.
It is an honor, man, to bring on. Anytime we bring on another Mike, it's always a fun thing. Mine Jefferies, the voice of Barrie Wrestling. I know you've heard us talk about Barrie Wrestling countless number of times on the show. We've had the wrestlers on the show, but never any of their actual crew, the guys who put the show together. So it's an honor for us to bring on Mike, one of the voices next to Diamond Jim Lowe of Barrie Wrestling. Mike, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great. And yeah, I was, Diamond Jim is still the voice of Barrie Wrestling. I am the play-by-play voice of Barrie Wrestling. So
there we go.
He's still got the size advantage on me, so I got to give him props. I'd beat him in a foot race, but if he catches me, I'm done.
It's game over. You guys are sitting pretty close together at those shows, so we'll have to be on our best behavior with Diamond Jim this week.
Yes, yeah. He it's close enough to throw a little elbow in there if he wants to, so got to be careful.
Well, Mike, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you? How you kind of got your start. You don't just do wrestling play-by-play. I know you do a lot of play-by-play for a lot of stuff. How did you get your foot in the door with the wrestling world, though? And maybe if you want to tell some people some of the other stuff where they can catch you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did some announcing in university, which was, I look young, but I'm 37. That was a long time ago. And I
got the same curse, man. 84
exactly,
all the way.
Yeah. If I shave, I get ID'd. And then I wanted to get back into it. And I had met, I met Diamond Jim. I met Jim through ball hockey. And we were, connections on LinkedIn, which is still used by some people. And I shot him a message and said, hey, I want to get back into announcing. You want to meet for a drink? And we met up in Barrie. And, once we found out we were each wrestling fans, as you guys know, when you meet a wrestling fan in the wild, it's like, okay, let's clear the next hour because we're going to talk about wrestling and everything that we love.
That's exactly how this podcast was formed, buddy.
It's like the scene in Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends?
Exactly. It could be university, on a bus, whatever. I used to work at EB Games. You'd see a guy come in with a Bullet Club shirt and you're like, we're going to talk.
Yeah.
But so we met and he's like, I do announcing for Barrie Wrestling. I'll talk to the guy who runs it, Sean Gibson. And so I showed up, and I remember it was, I think, the first show I was at, and going into intermission, he's like, I'm going to have you read a promo. I said, I'm sorry, what? and it was Brent Banks was returning the next month. And so I stood beside, Shelly on sound, gave me a mic, and I read a promo for Brent Banks's return. And that was the first time I got to get on a mic in Barrie Wrestling. And yeah, over time, I would help set up the ring. I did some of that stuff. And I did some play-by-play when we did the Mavericks Music Hall shows under Hustle Brand Wrestling. And Sean, don't hate me, I still think that's a terrible name. And it just grew from there.
He tried so hard. That thing, it just wasn't going to get over. But I respected him for trying with Hustle Brand. I really do.
It's like, like the Wu-Tang name generator. It's like wrestling organization name generator, just Hustle Brand. Like, yeah, I guess. But so it worked out, and we did the All Ontario Cup, which was my first time doing play-by-play, like, I guess proper play-by-play for Barrie Wrestling, even though it wasn't really Barrie Wrestling. And then, this goes back years to when I used to film the shows. Brian, our photographer, would lend us the equipment, and I did some editing. And then I told Sean I never want to do editing again because it's just awful.
It's the worst.
It takes so long. But I filmed, there was the frat against Kevin Blackwood and Daniel Garcia. I filmed the entire thing uncut on a handy cam, walking around the ring, just trying to not get hit. Like on the outside of the ring. It's happened a couple times. I almost got drilled. And then now we're doing these things for Barrie Wrestling, and I get to do play-by-play, and it's awesome. And we had the restart in December for the one show, and then the virus came back a bit, and March was incredible, and I can't wait for this coming Saturday. And as far as other stuff, unfortunately, COVID did kind of slow me down there. I have been doing a bunch with Rogers before that, doing hockey, lacrosse. I did Georgian Grizzlies basketball. Rogers is starting to film some more things now. So hopefully, follow me on Twitter at Mike Jefferies PA. Occasionally I post on Instagram, but it's mostly my cat. And hopefully coming into this summer, I'll be able to do some more play-by-play for other sports. But I'm happy doing Barrie Wrestling right now. It's the best gig I've had, and it's like I can't say enough good things.
Before we break down the card for Bad Meets Evil, I got to ask a question. I'm going to get so much heat for this, and that's fine. I can't wait to hear it. I'm going to get in so much trouble. I got to ask you. A lot of times it'd be really easy for me to ask you, because you've been around so many great indie wrestlers. It'd be really easy for me to ask you, tell me a good indie wrestler story. Tell me a good Von Vertigo story. Tell me a good Holden Albright story. That's too easy.
There are no good Holden Albright stories. Only terror and fear.
I'm going to challenge you here because there's a man, a myth, a legend in Barrie Wrestling that I think people are afraid to talk about. The man of two personalities. You got outside of the show Sean Gibson, and you got game day Sean Gibson. Tell me a Sean Gibson story there, Mike.
Oh no. Oh no. There are so many. It's hard. So he is, and so there's a group chat with myself, Jim, and Sean, which he'd love to be a fly on the wall of. And I say things in there that would probably get me punched if it was in front of either of them. But no, Sean is the most, I don't know how to describe it. Like he is very intense on show days. Very intense. And I might get some heat from this, but I have to tell you, so the very first show I ever showed up to, okay, so I don't know anybody. I show up in my suit, and Amanda, Sean's wife, greets me at the door, and I'm like, hey, Jim told me. She's like, oh yeah, come on in. So I'm sitting there, and I won't get but there was an issue with something announcing wise, as far as a name that was used. And I guess Sean maybe thought Jim had done it on purpose. I don't know what happened, but they got into an argument. And I am sitting there, just not a clue what to do. And they worked it out, how men we all are. It's, I played ball hockey, punch a guy in the face and go for a beer afterwards. It's fine. I don't punch people. I'm the little guy who runs away. But I'm just sitting there and I'm like, it's so awkward. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Am I going to be announcing the rest of the show?
Welcome to Barrie. Get in there.
Yeah, basically. No, that and kind of a Sean Gibson. So I was on Ring Crew, and Sean, because he's a reporter for Barrie Today, and he got called away to something. So we're setting up the ring without him. And I won't throw the Ring Crew leader under the bus. I won't name names, but we build the ring and then realize it's about 3 feet off its mark where it needs to be. And I don't know if you ever tried to move a put together wrestling ring before. It is not light. We moved that sucker, and there's little pads underneath. You have to slide with it. So we moved this thing 3 feet, about 2 inches at a time. 1, 2, 3, push. 1, 2, 3, push. Getting it across the gym floor, and none of us wanted to be Deshaun. Like, well, it's good enough. No, that was never going to be an option.
No.
But no, Sean is he is a great guy, and I'm not just saying that because he's the only
No,
person paying
man.
me for announcing right now. He is a genuinely good person, and
Absolutely.
I will say the locker room. Sorry, the locker room that he has put together.
Oh my God, how good is it?
It's one of the things I miss the most during like the pandemic. Is
Yeah.
not just announcing, but like just being in there. And it is funny that it's the like nursery of the church. So there's like Jesus loves me, this I know, written on the blackboard and things like that. And the guys are in there planning out their matches, but the guys are in there, fighting each other because they all hate each other because they're rivals.
Yeah. Kayfabe, brother.
Yes, but the locker room back there is 100% Sean Gibson. He doesn't care how talented you are if you're not a good fit for the locker room, and that's I think the best representation of what he does for Barrie Wrestling.
Yeah, 100%.
I have been in and around the indies my entire adult life. I have met a lot of promoters. I've met a lot of promoters' helpers. I've never met a promoter like Sean Gibson. Sean Gibson is not your everyday wrestling promoter, and by that I mean he's not an asshole. And they used to say. They used to say, you can't be a promoter if you're not an asshole, at least a little bit. I haven't seen that side of Sean. I've seen the intense side of Sean. I've seen the don't fuck around right now, Sean, but not the asshole. I'm going to short you after this day. You're going home with a light with a light envelope. You know what I mean? Like he's not that kind of cock. And I've met a lot of them. He's very different, and it's one of the things that keeps bringing Tyler and I back to Barrie Wrestling. And like you said, that locker room, probably the best locker room going in the Ontario Indies right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it.
We can also look past the fact that Sean Gibson is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So like,
I'm not looking past that.
I can live with it. I can accept it. I don't understand it because obviously we all know the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be better than the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next 10 years now. But I can accept that. And to go on both what you guys said, that Barrie Wrestling locker room, it feels like such a warm family when you walk in there. Everybody's been so gracious and kind to Mike and I from day one that we walked in there. We don't know anybody. We're just a couple nobodies that do a podcast, that have a little table set up, and just getting to make these friendships over the last 5-6 months. Just kudos to Sean and the entire Barrie roster.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just the fact that they're nice guys. So I had never been to an indie show in my life before. I, grew up WWF, WWE fan, a little bit of WCW, but not really. And then when Jim's like, come out to this Barrie Wrestling show, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what kind of talent. I guess I was thinking the most stereotypical indie, like guys that don't know how to wrestle type of match. And I think the second match on the card was a triple threat. It was Tarek, Brent Banks, and Sebastian Suave, I want to say. And I watched that match and I was like, what the hell? And the talent blew me away. I had no idea what. And actually, my first show was the return of Fight or Flight. And they took the tag titles off of Holden Albright and Mark Wheeler. And that was the end of the Riot Makers. And I was hooked. And it's actually, like, I would rather I'm not just blowing smoke, I'd rather sit down and watch a Barrie Wrestling show or even like a C4 show or something like that than a lot of the stuff you see on TV. And part of it's because I know the guys and like I know they're good people, but a lot of it's just every match is a banger.
Yeah, 100%.
I spend more time on IWTV than I do on WWE Network.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mike and I, we both manage restaurants, so getting weekends off is not the easiest thing for us to do. I had a choice this month. Do I want to book off Wrestlemania weekend, or do I want to book off Barrie Wrestling? And I chose Barrie Wrestling. And now I don't want to go into whole details here. I don't want to run down the whole card, but Wrestlemania just happened. I thought that this was a great show from top to bottom, both nights. I think it's one of the best WrestleManias that they've done in years and years and years. Let's start with our guest, Mike. What was your highlight of WrestleMania for, a couple of your favorite moments?
So I think top to bottom best match was Bianca and Becky.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
So my wife had never watched wrestling ever before she met me. I actually took her to a Smash show. It was her first live wrestling, and she really likes women's matches, especially ones like that. But it was so well done. Mm-hmm. The unintentional kick to the eye, I think, added to it.
Yeah.
The finish, I don't know how you go whatever 20 minutes they did, and then I'm just gonna springboard backflip off the second rope, pick you up in my deadlift you onto my shoulders and hit. Like, if she's not their star for the next as long as she wants to be, they're messing something up.
I agree.
Yeah.
Best moment. Okay, I have to. Steve Austin having a 13-minute match was not on my bingo card for this year.
100%.
Listen,
Suplex on the floor.
yeah. The first thing I said when they said they were going to do something with KO, I said, as long as it's not a match. I don't want to see a 60-year-old Steve Austin have a wrestling match. I have no interest in that. Don't do it. Until it happened. And then I'm like, okay, I'm in on this. And I was in on it, and it's one of my favorite parts of WrestleMania.
You know why I think it works so well, too? I think it's the way that they went about doing it. They never gave us the words, Steve Austin is having a wrestling match. They built it as he's coming on the KO show, right? Yeah. So we didn't have 3 weeks to, be like, have our expectations of Stone Cold Steve Austin stomping a mud hole, being Steve Austin from 20 years ago. Our expectations weren't building up every week. And then the way that they delivered it, it was like, holy shit, this is an amazing bonus that we're getting, right?
Yeah. Well, and I figured the match, if it was going to be a match, it'd be like The Rock and Eric Rowan, right? It'd be like ring the bell, fingers, stun, 1, 2, 3. And then the match started, I'm like, oh, it's going to be Austin pummeling him for 5 minutes, and then 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Austin started bumping. And again, that suplex on the floor, I was like, Steve?
He did not have to take that. He did not have to.
No.
He probably did not feel good.
No.
Yeah. That 60-year-old man took bumps that this 40-year-old ass would never do. I'll tell you that.
I do it once and then just not get up.
Yeah.
But that was great. And I mean, shout out like Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Unbelievable. Have you seen the video his wife posted of the flight back?
No, I haven't seen that.
He is so drunk. He had 30 beers, he said. The clip of him lying on his back drinking outside the ring.
Good.
I've seen that.
That was so good.
Did not have Vince McMahon match on my bingo card for this year.
No.
And you know what? Credit to him. He's 73 years old.
He couldn't give it to Steve, eh? Steve was the oldest person to have a wrestling match on WrestleMania until night 2.
I loved to me. I think one of my favorite moments was seeing Vince and Steve in the ring together. And I know everybody's like laughing at and shitting on the stunner. To me, I loved it because Vince could never take the stunner anyways, right?
No.
So it's the fact that he's still gonna have the worst stunner of all time is so fitting, like for Vince and Austin. And you could just see Steve laughing, having the best time. Like he didn't give a shit.
My favorite thing
Linda's
is Mick
worse.
Foley. Mick Foley's the one making fun of him the most.
Yeah, Mick Foley, that was a great video.
I'm sorry, Mick, but you didn't take the best stunner either.
I'm going to go on record to say that Vince's this year was worse than Linda's. I am going to say that Linda took a better one than Vince this year.
But was it worse than Trump's?
Ooh. I think we just stumbled on our next list, the top 7 worst Stone Cold stunners of all time.
So here's the tough thing for me is like, if you're just talking about the stunner part, Vince's wasn't that bad. He crumpled. It was okay. It was the boot drunk stumble before it. And is that really part of the sell? I don't know. So whose was better? Austin Theory getting 8 feet of hang time or Pat McAfee going full sprinkler?
Take your pick.
Austin Theory went a little too rockish. I think he was trying to channel the Rock's oversell on it, and it just went a little too far.
His sell was like if the Rock's sell and Scott Hall's sell had a baby, and then you had Austin's sell.
Scott Hall's sell.
Yeah, me too.
I fucking love Scott Hall's
Me too.
Sell.
Him at 18, which I was lucky enough to be at, he got up there, and so it's like he channeled like the Scott Hall sell with the Rock's flair. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was great.
Either that, or Austin Theory watched Hogan versus Shawn Michaels right before he came out.
No, Pat McAfee watched that because the way he was selling Vince, putting him into the turnbuckles, it was little Shawn Michaels, little Mr. Perfect. I
thought Pat McAfee's selling for Vince was so good. Like, I literally thought he was Shawn Michaels for a minute, the way he was selling for Vince. Like, I was like, Pat McAfee, what's going on here? What a great addition he's been to the WWE. He's been.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. Not what I expected when he first came out. I wasn't a fan when he first started. I'm so happy that the way he's progressed and the way that I've turned on him, it's amazing. can we please talk about his entrance and that motherfucking pop?
Yeah.
He had those fans. I'm gonna say he might have had probably the third biggest pop of WrestleMania. Those fans were with him, chanting that. I love that Seven Nation Army theme song. I'm glad he chose that.
Well, it was smart too because it's a football song too, right? Like every time there's a big third down play in football, they always play that song to get the crowd going. So
and
nice,
the fact
nice
that he punted a fucking ball into the stands, the boys still got it.
The backflip into
Pat McAfee, I'm going to say was one of the biggest stars of WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, that backflip into the jump to the top rope, Shelton Benjamin style, into the superplex.
Unreal.
I hate him. Dude was a punter, made millions of dollars. Then he became a podcaster and made millions of dollars. And then he became a commentator and he's great at that. And then he had a WrestleMania moment and he's like my age. He's just a jerk.
Yeah. I'm a very jealous man of Pat McAfee for sure. Being a huge football fan that I am, being a huge wrestling fan, and being a podcast host myself.
Speaking of guys who got rich off of doing weird shit.
Hey, there's your segue. You got one.
Woo!
Hey.
I gotta tell you, man, the Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn shit was probably one of my top highlights of the weekend.
I agree.
How fucking much fun was that? All of it. It was just so much fun.
You know, I'm an announcer, so I got to do this. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee made that match so much better. But who do you think you are?
I was just gonna say that was the line of the weekend.
Yeah.
No, what did the five giant fingers say to the face? Slap bitch.
Pat McAfee was having so much fun with that thing.
You could see his fandom of the Jackass crew, when, you know, and Michael Cole kept asking him, "How have you seen Party Boy naked so much?"
His cheeks were just getting over.
I was dying. Wee Man took a huge boot to the face. That was awesome. Like I love Jackass. I haven't seen the new movie yet. It's on my list of things to watch that I'm way behind on. But I thought that they did a great job. Sami Zayn, you have to tip your cap to him. He took something that could have went over. That whole match could have went over like a fart in church, and they made it work. And it was phenomenal.
Well, and it helps with the Jackass guys because none of them are going to be like, "Hey, take it soft in there."
Yeah.
They're going to be like, "Kick me as hard as you can in the face, please."
And the stuff they came up with worked. Like they somehow found a way to bring Jackass to wrestling, and it worked. The camera work on that huge hand was phenomenal. I did not see it coming. I didn't see it coming. Right? Yeah. I popped huge for that.
Me too.
That was so good. And Johnny's very ball and groin oriented offense.
Yeah. And I love how they're like, well, at least he's working a body part. Like I think the big story, though, coming out of WrestleMania weekend, obviously, other than Steve Austin, which is probably going to be one of the best moments of the entire year, is the debut of Cody. Man, they gave this guy the superstar treatment. The crowd reacted to him like a main event player, and I think it's up to the company now to follow up with this. And I really hope they don't rush anything with him. And I don't want to see him and Roman fight for a long time. You know what I mean? I want to see maybe give me it. Well, I haven't heard the diagnosis if Roman is if he's going to miss any time or not, but the rumors are he's hurt, right? But Cody is a guy that has such a special connection with fans that not a lot of people have. You know, whether it's I love you, I hate you, he brings emotion out of people, and only a small handful of people trigger that type of emotion. If they do it right with Cody, I think the sky's the limit for this guy. And I said this in our show before. Not only is that a great coup for the WWE to get an AEW guy finally, they got the AEW guy, but I think it sends a message to guys like MJF's, whoever's contracts are going to be coming up. Hey, listen, you can come over here, and if you're talented enough, and you know, we will trust you, and we won't bury you. You know, we'll give you a shot. And you know, I think presenting Cody in that light sends a message to any free agents that are coming up as well.
Couldn't agree more.
Oh, sorry.
No,
you go.
We have a Canadian standoff.
I want you to go up because I was segueing to a question, so I want you to go.
Okay. The biggest thing they didn't do that I was sure they would do is they didn't overthink it. I thought they'd have Shane McMahon come out first as like a tease or whatever would happen. they just lights go, the anticipation builds, lights go out. And then it's such, he's got the quote to start it and you know who it is.
That
and
was
the
awesome.
place went ballistic. That tattoo is still awful,
Awful.
awful, but they didn't overthink it. And I was positive they would. And they went the CM Punk AEW route where we're going to tell you he's going to be there without telling you he's going to be there.
Yeah.
The intentionally worst kept secret. And the match was great. I loved the bionic elbow spot.
I thought it was beautiful.
I loved
so good.
the cartwheel into the
Yeah, and Corey Graves was really good on that call too. That was him cleansing his soul. I thought that was a very powerful line.
Did you see the Legend of Zelda reference?
No, I missed that one. What one was that?
I'd have to find it. I'd have to find it. But Corey Graves directly quoted "Link to the Past," which Cody has the Triforce booth and things like that, and it's a direct random quote.
Everybody knows that, Cody loves Zelda, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, had to be fed to him. But no, I was concerned, is the match going to live up to, what everybody's putting behind it?
Yeah.
It was so good.
I think it lived up. I do. I think I think it really held every expectation. There's nobody, I don't think there's anybody better they could have put him in the ring with for his return than Seth. Seth is very giving. Seth is very professional, and Seth is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world today. So to have those two guys do that match made so much sense. My question for you guys, because I'm having a hard time with this, I don't have an answer right now. And I want to know if it's that black and white for you guys. Which match did you enjoy more? We got Cody and Seth on one side. You got AJ and Edge on night 2. What match trumped out of the two of them?
Mike, you can take that one first. Yeah.
Yeah. Cody and Seth.
Yeah.
Okay. The two most important parts of the match are the start and the finish. And this guy is standing menacingly over here doing nothing. I'm going to get distracted for a second and then get speared out of the air finish bothered me.
Okay.
And it's part of it is just you try and, again, as an announcer, you call it a shoot, right? And I try to watch it like it's a shoot. And sometimes you suspend your disbelief a bit. But it's so what was Edge and Damian Priest's plan? Just stand there and don't do anything. He's going to get distracted by that. Just, you're stunningly handsome. That aspect bothered me. And I also think part of it might be my expectations for an AJ Styles match. It's the same thing that happened with the Nakamura match and a lot of others. It's so impossible to reach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that might be part of it too. Or it also might be they are trying to reach this impossible standard. So they try to do a little bit too much. It was a great match, but not as good.
I felt that match was this close to getting to a higher gear, but they just couldn't take it to that next level that I feel like Cody and Seth had. And not to say that the match wasn't amazing, because it was a pun intended phenomenal match between these two. But I think Cody and Seth was the better match. I'll pose a quick question to you guys here as well. And this is impossible to answer, so I don't expect an answer. But I can't think of a better hour in WrestleMania history than going with Bianca and Becky right into Cody's debut. That might be up there for one of the best hours in the history of WrestleMania.
Yeah, take that, WrestleMania 12.
Hey, I am the biggest Shawn Michaels mark you will find in Canada. So, it's tough for me. But that was an hour and 2 minutes. So I'll give you the best hour.
Yeah, that was strong. I thought the whole
and the only good part of the hour and 2 minutes was the 2 minutes. Anyway.
Yes. That was, and it takes some balls for them to go back to back like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I actually kind of forgot that was, granted, you had a 4-minute video package in between, but there wasn't a lot of cool-down matches over the 2 nights, which is the crowd was still hot.
Your cool down at this WrestleMania was the 1900 fucking
video
commercials and
you know why they do that, eh? Did you guys have you read why they do that, Mike?
Yeah.
No.
They do it because on Peacock, the free subscription for it, they have to put commercials in on it.
Oh.
And they made $12 million doing it because of these commercials.
Cool.
So I'm fine with it.
They could have made each night 3 hours without those fucking commercials.
I mean,
Oh,
I mean, from a business standpoint, I'll take
Yeah, I know.
I'll take the $12 million for a couple video packages and spoil the fans with the action. But I like that they were at least hyping up the next night for most of the first night.
For most of it, yeah.
And then they did the throwbacks, the finishes or the big moments in the first night. At least I thought they were pretty creative with it, which was nice.
Yeah.
I'd say overall WrestleMania 2 thumbs up. Every
1,000%.
aspect.
Couldn't agree more.
Ring of Honor had a great show. Like there was the whole weekend.
We're not going to break down this. Maybe we'll do this later on another show. But I will say that my favorite match this weekend did not come from WrestleMania. My favorite match this weekend was the Briscoes versus FDR.
That was a great match too.
That was my favorite match of this weekend. I only got to watch 4 shows this weekend. I know everyone's going to yell at me. I did not watch a single GCW show this weekend. I know, boo, Mike, not like me. But a lot of wrestling this weekend, and I worked all weekend. So I watched both nights of WrestleMania. I watched Ring of Honor, and I watched Impact Wrestling. That's all I got to see so far. And out of those 4 shows, the Briscoes and FTR stole the weekend for me.
Yeah, it's up there. I'd highly recommend it. The tag team nutted me, of course, loves the Briscoes and FTR. Yeah. And immediately after that match, the Briscoes ran across and fought the Good Brothers like 20 minutes, like half hour later, which is insane.
Yeah.
The Briscoes and Speedball Mike Bailey, who fought 9 matches in 4 days. Tip your cap to those boys over the WrestleMania weekend.
Man, I thought it was going to be Suzuki with that record, but
yeah, he had 5 matches this weekend. Yeah. But and another reason why I didn't have time to watch GCW, Mike, is because you were busy putting your list together this week.
That's right. But before we talk about the lists, something very important right before the list. I just want everyone to see, in honor of Cody's Raw debut tonight, I don't have a Cody shirt, but I do have a Vigilante Club shirt, a shirt of his very good friend, Stephen Amell. A shirt I bought years ago from this company in Chicago. Don't know if you ever heard of it, but it says right on the tag, ProWrestlingTees.com. Well, if you were to go to ProWrestlingTees.com, hit that little search button and put Count It Out, you would see the brand new Count It Out with Mike and Tyler store on Pro Wrestling Tees with a brand new t-shirt design from Chinlock Wrestling's own Jay Bird Designs. We're so fucking excited about this. Went live this week. Went live this week. Please go check it out if you can.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll make you guys a deal. If you guys all go out there and buy enough shirts, we will take any money that we make and we'll bring Ricky Morton on the show because I got his quote and it's doable, people. It's doable. Mike, I'm excited for your list this week. We are talking about Triple H's greatest rivals of all time, not specific feuds. I mean, he had 17 feuds with Mick Foley and The Undertaker. So we're talking about just everything as a whole with Triple H, coming off his retirement. He had his big moment at WrestleMania, which I really wish they would have done on Raw instead, to be honest. Would have liked to have seen a little bit, maybe a speech from him, but it was still a beautiful moment.
Do we know that didn't happen? Raw's probably on right now.
I mean, they still did it at WrestleMania anyways, but
he didn't make a speech.
He left his boots in the ring.
Yeah. Anyways, I gotta say that only 2 things through the whole weekend made me teary-eyed. One was the Shad Gaspar induction of the Hall of Fame, and one was seeing those boots left in the middle of that ring. Triple H has been one of my favorite wrestlers, one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time for the last 25 years. To see that man leave those boots there, that brought a tear to my eye. To see that the opening night 2 with Triple H, opening night 2 with that entrance one last time, what a great way to open WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
I thought it was fitting that he used the game because King of Kings is when he's executive Triple H now, and the game is when he's coming out to wrestle. So yeah, like you said, the one last time, it was something. It was honestly kind of hard to see. He looks good, but you can tell he's lost a lot of mass.
Of course.
And hearing his interview, his interview with Stephen A. Smith and him talking about how he was at the 1 yard line of where you don't want to be and stuff to where he is, it's interesting. It kind of reminded me a bit of, the different ending, but of the Brody Lee stuff where we didn't really know what was happening until what happened. And with this, like they just said it was a cardiac event. You're like, okay, so he had a heart attack, something he'll be, that sucks, but he's okay. And to hear all of it, yeah, that was really, at least he was there to give, to do what he did.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's good for these guys to also get the firm never again.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they'll never take themselves out of the game. That's how they're built, especially the old school guys like Triple H.
And this is not like Edge or Christian where maybe in 10 years it'll get better. No, he has a fucking defibrillator in his body. This is not going to get better. We will not see Triple H wrestle ever again. We have to make our peace with that. It seems like he's made his peace with that. And in order to make our peace with that, let's honor him tonight and do a list of what I think are his top 7 greatest rivals of all time.
All right, man. Well, hit us up with that number 7. I'm excited to see what you've done. I'll try to be nice to you this week. We have company, so.
Yeah. Well,
Henry Godwin.
I hope so. I hope so.
It's a hell of a list when it starts at number 7 with a name like this, when number 7 is one of the greatest of all time, and a man who, after 19 years, wrestled for the first time in WWE TV this weekend. We're starting with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, hell yeah. I don't hate this placement because as much as they had these great matches, I feel like their rivalry, well, that was easy for me to say. Their rivalry was, it kept getting cut short. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Austin got hurt.
And that's why it's number 7.
Now, they did have, though, that phenomenal feud leading up to No Way Out when they did that 2 out of 3 falls. And I know this because I just recently watched the whole build for it for Classic Match Classroom on an episode that never got made, unfortunately. But they did the build where they couldn't touch each other for the whole build up for it. And then as soon as they signed the contract, Triple H laid out Austin. And Vince is like, well, you're fired now. And he's like, I never signed the contract. And then he signed it after. Like, I thought that was the best part of anything that those guys did together for sure.
I think the 2-man power trip fell a little bit flat for what it should have been. And I think the biggest thing, like you said, it got cut short, and their peaks just missed each other. Like Triple H was just kind of coming up, and Austin was, the injuries were getting there. And I think peak babyface Steve Austin and peak shithead Triple H would have been incredible.
Yeah.
But they just missed each other. I don't hate this placement.
I'm really happy, though, that we got to see it at one time in that fantastic 2 out of 3 match at No Way Out, where everything kind of fell into place for that 1 month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, I don't think there was a better wrestler in the world in 2001 than Triple H. I think he was, I think I would put him against anybody, All Japan, New Japan, WWE, CW was just coming to an end by that point, right? So I think he was at the top of his game there. To see those guys go out 2 out of 3 falls, 3 stages of hell at No Way Out. Fantastic stuff. Mike, I think you're off to a good start on this one.
Well, I hope I keep you there with my number 6. My number 6 is another of the greatest of all time. I'm going to say that my whole number 7 could be filled with the greatest of all time because that's who Triple H feuded with, right? Because Triple H in his own right is one of the greatest of all time as far as I'm concerned. So he's going up in this one. This rival, they had several stories spanning, I'm going to say 20 years together. And none of them were bad at all, but I found a lot of them short. And that like get to the match, do the match, and then go on to the next. And that's why it's my number 6. But he's going up against Hall of Famer, the Phenom, The Undertaker.
Yeah, I'm okay with this too. Mike. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of their actual build-ups that they did.
Because there was not a lot of build-up. It was the end of a pay-per-view, start feuding, get to the next pay-per-view, it's over, and then we'll feud again in a couple of years. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah,
going all the way back to like 99, 2000.
I mean, you can even go a little bit before that too, because when Taker was feuding with Shawn, Triple H was the bump guy for Shawn at that point, right? So that's kind of where they wet their toes a little bit there. They had the great match at WrestleMania 17, but like that match was kind of like, okay, we have a stacked card. What do we do with Triple H and The Undertaker? We don't really have a place for them. Let's put them together with 3 weeks worth of build. You know what I mean? Yep. So that one didn't really have a whole lot going with it. And then, WrestleMania 27 or 28, I can't remember. I think 27 was the one in Atlanta. I get mixed up. By the end of those WrestleManias, I am pretty deep into the Jack Daniels, so the numbers start to. But they had a really good match there, but again, not much of a build for it. I will say though, I love their build for Hell in a Cell. I thought the Hell in a Cell match in general was really great. Thought it was one of the best false finishes in wrestling history. Shawn was great in it. You can't beat him. Like I retired him. Like I just thought that was really good. So I would be okay with this in your number 7, number 6 spot. I'm fine with it. Mike, what do you think on that?
So the WrestleMania 27 build, isn't that when Taker, I think Triple H made his return first and then Taker came back, or one or the other.
Yeah.
And they just stood in the ring, looked at the sign, and that was it.
That was it.
I actually kind of liked, like, it was a very short build. It wasn't a great story, but I liked that as much as the pointing at the sign has become a trope, like I'm going to run to the ring and point at the sign and I'll get a Mania match.
Yeah.
That moment, because it was the return pop is always massive. And I'm bothering. Do you guys remember who came out first? Because it's really bugging me right now that I'm foggy on it.
I want to say it was Taker.
I think it was Taker as well.
I'm almost
because I think they flipped it the next year. Yeah. I think they flipped it.
Yes.
Right. But I like that they came out like boom, boom, right? They came out one after another.
And Taker comes out, and then the pop when Triple H, because as soon as that music hits, everybody knows what's about, what we're leading to. And you mentioned Mania 17. I think it's funny because that's probably the least talked about match that was good in the Undertaker streak, because
so good. Thank you.
They pushed that aside when they had their later matches, because the Triple H at that time is not the Triple H that became Triple H. The Hell in a Cell match has the second best false finish of any Undertaker match. I still say the first time Shawn Michaels kicked out of the tombstone, the out-of-body experience call from Jim Ross, is the greatest false finish in an Undertaker match, but that's a list for another day.
You could also put the RKO at 21 out of the choke slam as another really good one. Those are all great ones for sure.
All right, we don't hate you yet, Mike. Keep going.
All right, let's keep going. We're going to my number 5, to a guy that, again, if you want to talk the greatest of all time, this might be arguable with a lot of people, but not to Tyler and I. Tyler and I have talked about this man several times on this show about being one of the greatest of all time. And I'm going to break it down to probably 2 really good stories with Triple H. We're talking about Randy Orton.
Yeah, most underrated WWF wrestler of all time, I think.
Randy's. Let's start with the night after he wins the championship here in Toronto, right? And then the very next night, that's where it starts for Randy, right?
Yeah,
that's a great story there. And then years later, my numbers get mixed up. What WrestleMania was it where they wrestled? 25, which we disagree on, but I think is a fun group, a very fun build, a very fun rivalry right there, a fun feud where Triple H breaks into Randy's house and shit like that. That was a lot of fun for me.
Randy hit a nice RKO on Stephanie during that build. I love the build up for the match, but to me the match under delivered, because that should have been like a blood, like I'm coming to kill you. And then they had a fantastic wrestling match, but it didn't fit the build for me. I wanted to see Triple H out for blood. You took my wife out. Randy, you broke into my house, but they were chain wrestling right off the hop almost. It's like I missed the boat for me a little bit on that one.
No, I'm checking for heat here, because Randy is known as Triple H's protege. We remember fondly the days of Evolution. Do you agree with me that he deserves to be on the list of the best rivals?
Mike, I'll let you take this one first.
Ooh, so it's interesting because it's almost the inverse of The Undertaker in that it was a better build, but the match itself came short. Like we were just saying, and not if any match ever needed to be a no DQ, beat the holy crap out of each other match, like that was it.
Yes.
And did it come immediately after Michael's taker, or was there a cool down in between?
There was a couple little buffers in between.
Yeah.
Either way, that was, you know, it was in a really tough spot. You know, it's kind of like Jericho and Triple H after Brock and Hogan, right?
Yeah,
like there's
absolutely.
only so much. You're done at that point. That's a tough one, because I'd have to see who's on the rest of your list, and if there's somebody missing, then I'll let you know on Saturday.
So
when
in that case, you probably don't agree with him being my number 5. Maybe push him up to the number 6, 7 for you.
I can coin toss him with the Undertaker for the reason I said. I think Triple H and Randy Orton had a better build, and the moment of him handcuffing Triple H to the ropes and then hitting the RKO on Stephanie, it is embedded in my brain.
Yeah.
And there is no moment from the Taker Triple H's build-ups, like the feuds outside the matches, that's really like implanted like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not. It's like a 3 out of 10 on the heat scale. I'm not that angry.
I don't think this one makes my list, to be honest.
I had a feeling you were going to say this. I really did. At the very least, I thought maybe you would say put it at my number 7. What do you think I'm doing here? Am I over? Over fondly remembering these two stories?
Like for me, it doesn't make my list because I think that this rivalry really hurt Randy a lot. I think both times that they feuded, it kind of cut the legs out of Randy. When Randy won that title, Triple H beat him a month later, and then all of a sudden Batista was the main event of WrestleMania that year, and Orton was an afterthought in the main event picture. It's not a great match with Taker that year. And then even this year, you know, Orton was red hot as a heel. He did that great angle where he punted Vince in the head. Then he won the Royal Rumble. Then they brought Shane McMahon back. And by the time WrestleMania rolled around again, he was just kind of normal again. So I feel like Triple H was kind of Orton's kryptonite a little bit in regards to keeping him heated, if that makes sense. From an in-ring standpoint, they never failed to deliver. You know, even say what you want about the Mania 25 match, it was still a good match. It was just the wrong build, like the wrong delivery of the match. But it was still a great match. But I'm taking a look at some of the names I've written down here. I might fight you for number 7 spot for him. You know, the thumbs down spot was big for me, but I'll wait to see what you don't have on there before.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I'll give you one little bonus though. The last televised Triple H match was with Randy Orton.
Yes.
So you do have that, even though it wasn't really a match. It was also in that weird fever dream part of COVID where everything weird was happening. But officially the last televised match.
I also do think that Randy Orton and Triple H, when Orton's done with RK Bro, should form a new evolution with Austin Theory and Braun Breaker. I think they should bring it back and help give a rub to some of these. It worked so good for Batista. It worked so good for Batista and him. And the group is called Evolution. Now they've all evolved. Randy is Triple H now. Triple H is Flair now. You know, get the 2 new young guys in there. I just want to hear Motorhead again. I don't care who they put in there. Just give me the damn theme song.
Give me lines in the sand, baby.
Does that mean Triple H's daughter is going to be a 20-time champion? Is that how this works?
Her and Flair are going to be main eventing the next WrestleMania.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, hit us up number 4 here.
So my number 4 has 2 things in common with my number 5. Firstly, it's also based really on two different stories. And secondly, it's another member of Evolution. My number 4 is the Animal Dave Batista.
Yeah, I might have this in my top 3, to be honest. This was
I thought my 4 and 3 are kind of interchangeable. I won't lie to you. You understand when I get there, but my number 3 is there more from the heart than it is from the head. But 4 and 3 could be like this. But let's talk about Dave Batista, man. We'll again, just like Randy, this one starts with a thumbs down.
Yeah, I you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it too, this might be my number 2 in all honesty. Just because this is exactly what a rivalry should do. It took a guy and made him a main event player for whatever 10 years, whatever his run was. He's had a great run, and it's all because of Triple H. You know,
100%.
Triple H groomed him in Evolution. Just the little things in the slow build that got us to WrestleMania. All it was a look here, or staring at the title, or Triple H kind of sandbagging Batista in matches. It all was just built so perfect. And then the string of matches they had, that Hell in a Cell match that they had is probably the forgotten gem Hell in a Cell match. It's one of my favorite Hell in a Cell matches. It was violent, it was brutal. Triple H bled like a stuck pig in all of their matches that they had. He did everything to make Batista a superstar. I think for that reason, I might have to put it at my number 2, although I wasn't a fan of the build for the WrestleMania match, the last one.
And I
Give me what I want.
Okay, yeah, like that. That was it. They Give Me What I Want was pretty bad, but him beating the fuck to Flair in the back and all that stuff, I liked all that stuff.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. Mike, what do you got on your mind on this?
Sorry, what? Two things. One, I think you're underselling Devon Dudley's building of Deacon Batista. He really helped start that star.
Fair. Get that collection plate going.
Yes, the Batista Flair thing. The only thing that bothered me is he's dragging a cameraman over, but there's somebody filming him dragging the cameraman. If you're gonna do the dragging the cameraman bit, either have it be like a security camera style, like the old, remember GTV, going back to like the Attitude Era, or just have the cameraman being dragged. We're not stupid. If we see the guy, we know what's going on. It made Batista a star, and that's. If you were to ask me, who's the one guy that Triple H really made into a star, and I feel like there are 2 people coming up on your list, I hope so, that made Triple H into a star, but he made Batista. And even as much as their most recent WrestleMania match, it was what it was. They weren't at their best, and the Batista character was kind of up and down. There was the
weird right now.
Blue Tista and the whole Daniel Bryan stuff and all that, but they're running that as Evolution. That also made the Shield, and it made Seth Rollins. Their rivalry. I don't know if a rivalry can count when you're on the same side, but it led to the Evolution split, which led to the Mania match. They're joined at the hip.
Yeah.
And in Triple H, Triple H made Batista, and Cena ran the next decade. So I'll allow 4.
I'm excited to see your top 3, Mike, because I'm getting nervous because I got a couple that I don't think you're gonna have on your list here that I might have.
So very, very possible. I have a couple that I wish I fit on that just couldn't make it on. But it is what it is. My number 3. You want to talk about guys who helped make Triple H a star? I don't think this guy made him a star, but he sure as fuck had a hand there. This is the only one on my list that's really based on only one feud, only one storyline of matches. But goddamn, what a feud. But what the real story was the history behind the feud. Why did this feud happen? We're going to Triple H's very best fucking friend, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Ooh.
Can a Shawn Michaels mark take this one first?
Yeah.
Goddamn right we can. Yeah.
The only kid in Canada who cheered for Shawn Michaels after the Montreal Screwjob at a live event in Toronto, just looking around like, oh no.
It's like going to a Buffalo Bills game and cheering for the away team. You got to do the golf clap. Yeah.
No, I went to a Jays Red Sox game when the Jays sucked. My girlfriend at the time was from Vermont, big Boston fan. The Jays hit a home run in Toronto. I stand up. I am the only person in my section. I'm like, I'm just gonna sit back down.
Yeah.
So Shawn Michaels, okay, the brown pants at Elimination Chamber, his worst look. But what was that, 2002?
Yeah.
I was way too old to be marking out like I was at that. I mean, I was only 18, but still, that was awesome. Their blood feud.
The comeback match.
The reveal of who attacked Shawn. You hit your enemies hard, you hit your best friends harder, and they beat the piss out of each other in every match.
I love that promo that they did with the reveal. It was you, Hunter.
Yeah.
It's burned in my brain. And that song, the SummerSlam song.
And then the change in Hunter's face. Because he goes from concern to just pure fucking evil.
You're
in
damn
1
right
second.
it was me.
Yeah, love it. The reason it's so high on my list, the reason it's my number 3 and not my, and I get it because it wasn't a long story. There wasn't a whole lot to it, but the reason it's my number 3 and not my number 5, let's say, is because if you really take it all the way back to 1996, go all the way back, see the whole story unfold, it makes them the greatest of enemies. It really does.
Yeah, I got to change my stance. Batista would be my number 3. Sean's fighting for my number 1. In all honesty,
I thought you were, with your initial reaction when I said Sean's name, I thought you were going to fight me on this. I did.
I'm not. I think that it should be in your top 2 for sure.
Okay.
I think that you could really make an argument for it being number 1. Their history, going all the way back to the Click, to DX, to feuding, to reuniting, to feuding.
One of my
again.
favorite things. I don't know if you guys remember this. Back in '98, maybe early '99. Then I think late '88. They came out with a fully uncensored D-Generation X VHS.
I do remember this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it was like a greatest hits kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then they were filming shit in between. And one of my favorite things in the whole fucking video was they're in fucking Kevin Dunn's booth, and X-Pac, the phone rings. X-Pac answers it. He goes, "Oh, he's right here." He goes, "It's Shawn Michaels." He grabs the phone. He
hung up. Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I remember that.
Holy shit, man! Like, so good.
I mean, their build to Sean's comeback match, I think, is very special. But then I just like how they just kept intertwining after that. You know what I mean? Like they took it all
the way until they both, got back together. Like they always, even if they weren't feuding, they were always kind of parallel for the next few years.
But then they had so many.
And then right the night that Shawn fights Vince McMahon at WrestleMania, and Shawn does the cross chop, and then later that night, heel Triple H does the cross chop. You're feeling there's something there, even when they're not against each other or together, they belong together in some way or form.
I always like the little spots that they did together, like even when they were a tag team, like when they had the triple threat with Cena and the bell rang and Shawn just smoked Triple H with a super kick, or he eliminated him from the Royal Rumble with a super kick when they were friends. Like, yeah, I like those little things that they did. They had an underrated, forgotten last man standing match at the Royal Rumble the year that Benoit won it in 2004, I think. I just think that Shawn is Hunter's greatest in-ring opponent of all time.
You guys are underselling the greatest European Championship match in the history of wrestling.
I'm going to catch some heat from you now, Mike. I am not a fan of 1997 Shawn Michaels D-Generation X. I do another show called the Classic Match Classroom with our friend Anthony. And he's a 19-year-old kid who's never seen all these famous matches before, right? So I find the build for all the matches, and then we get his view of it, going back in time from a fresh set of eyes on a new wrestling fan. And I'm telling you, I was the biggest DX fan as a kid. I can't watch 97 DX. I can't watch 97 Shawn. It's X-Pac heat for me. So that hurts me a little bit, that era, but everything else I think these guys did was pretty good.
Well, and just not to go on a tangent, but quick aside, I was talking to my wife about this, that it's kind of nice watching the guys today and knowing that they're not complete pricks behind the scenes. Like, I'm pretty sure we're not going to read stories 20 years from now of these guys like doing lines of coke and committing assault. So yeah, a lot of the stuff from the 90s is tough to.
I got a guy.
Okay, maybe Pat McAfee.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I got a guy that's in Dallas right now that's been partying with all the boys, and there's some stories that I'm not going to mention on air that I don't know exactly.
But early, like that time in DX is not great. But we talked about the Randy Orton build and how the match didn't live up to it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Shawn and Triple H, they had an unsanctioned match. It was like his first match back, was it not?
Yeah.
That was the elbow drop off.
Shawn thought it was going to be a one-off, so he's like, "Let's just go do this thing. I'll do it in jeans, and that'll be it."
Yeah, elbow drop off the ladder through the table was the finish, I
He
believe.
did a big splash off the top rope to the floor on a table. And then the finish was he did a little roll up coming out of the pedigree.
Yes.
Now.
Okay, yeah. Oh no, I'm mixing up. The elbow drop off the ladder, I think, was him against Vince. Sorry, I think that's what I'm
that was
confusing.
WrestleMania with Vince.
But again, they bled and they beat each other up, and it matched the feud, which is so important.
Yeah. Other than a handful of indie things he did, this man has not wrestled a big time match in 5 fucking years. And he came back and did
He'd never be able
that.
to tell. Yeah, he is. Yeah, Sean's one of the greatest of all time.
Sean and
greatest.
yes. We all know what happened in Saudi Arabia. I don't give a fuck. But Sean could come back tomorrow and still have the best match on the card.
Yeah, I believe that.
He carried that match in Saudi Arabia. Triple H tore his pec. Kane and Undertaker were terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't hurt me.
No, that match.
Sean carried that match.
100%. He was the ring general in there for sure. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Mike.
All right.
Number 2.
Now I feel like there's no way I can do this now because obviously you want Shawn Michaels Batista in my top 2. Obviously, it's not going to happen.
I'll move Batista number 3. I've got my.
Either way, I feel like I'm in trouble here, but I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. My number 2 is The Rock, man. I think The Rock is, because of the way their careers mirrored each other for many years, from the Intercontinental from mid card in the Intercontinental title to main eventing and the world title. I think their feuds speak for itself. I do think that he is one of Triple H's greatest rivals of all time.
I'll use your number 2 as a cheap plug here. I was just on a podcast called The Turnbuckle Tavern, which you can check out on all podcasts and platforms. And we had a debate. One of their questions was, who's better, Triple H or The Rock? Which one is more important to the business? And it's impossible to answer.
You can't answer that question without criteria.
And I won't say what I said. You guys can tune into that and watch that. How about that? But
smart.
I would probably put this at my number 4 if I was making the list. For the sole, and I'll tell you why, for the sole reason that I love how these guys' careers intertwined with each other, and they are so important to rising up together. But they never had the focus of the company on them. You know what I mean? Like Austin was always there. Anytime that they did have the focus of the company, it was on Backlash or Judgment Day.
That era of WWE was more bloated than fucking today's AEW.
100%. But they were never as much as, The Rock and Austin were the top 2 guys, but Austin was always number 1, and Triple H was kind of like the little brother, like, hey guys, let me come out and play. Like, not Triple H because he's obviously fantastic, but you just can't compare guys like Rock and Austin. They're just on a different planet than everybody else, right? But Triple H and The Rock, they never had their one-on-one WrestleMania match. They never had the one-on-one SummerSlam match. We got like King of the Rings. We got all the B pay-per-views that they let them shine on. Now, were those matches fantastic? Absolutely they were. But I just feel like Hunter did better things with other people. It's not to take away from the rivalry with The Rock. I just think that he got to showcase on higher levels and had some better programs with other people, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. Mike, what do you think about The Rock?
I think I'd have him lower on the list too. And I think part of it for me is you talk about the other guys and you're like, what's your favorite build between Triple H and blank? There's you either have an immediate answer or multiple immediate answers. But same thing with The Rock. It's or what's your go-to Triple H Rock match? They had a lot of good matches, but there isn't that one that unless I'm forgetting something, it is very late.
Oh, you're right.
One that resonates. The parallel careers thing is very true, and it is fun to watch their Intercontinental Championship
they grew
match
together. You can see them, their characters. They found each other. They found themselves with each other, which is really fun to watch. It was fun to watching it live 25 years ago. It's fun to revisit now. I like seeing, The Rock learning these little things I'm going to go and grab that fucking headset off JR's head, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do, you know what I mean? He was learning that things with Triple H while Triple H was trying to figure out who is the game. Am I even what the fuck is that? They were learning together, and I really like that. And I felt they needed to trust each other on this whole different level than you usually see. And it came off on camera.
Yeah, and they had the great moment with Ronda Rousey and Stephanie. You know, that was all fun too. Like,
Right, yeah.
you know, they're intertwined with each other, but I think he did better work with other people. So I'm gonna politely this week disagree with you because again we have company, so I don't want to.
Fuck, we can guess every week.
I will say, if your number one is not who I think it better be, then we are gonna have a fight. I'll let you move on.
I'm really nervous right now. I'm really fucking nervous because I'm either about to get all the heat or all the praise. I'm just gonna rip it off. No, fuck it. I don't care. I'm right. No matter what anybody says, there is no way that Triple H had a better rival in his 30-year career than Mick fucking Foley. I'm right.
Okay.
We're
good.
Okay. You're
good.
Right. You're right.
All right.
Like, who else is left at this point? You did miss somebody that I would have put on your list, but we'll get to that in a minute. Like,
we'll do so. I have a couple of honorable mentions myself, but let's talk about Mick Foley. My original list was not going to be rivals. It was going to be feuds. This is why I had to change it. I was going to have 3 different Mick Foley feuds on this list. It goes back that far, going all the way back to, what was it, 96, I think?
97.
Was it 97? Or I didn't know if it was the tail end of 96.
That was the summer of 97. They had the cage match at SummerSlam, that wild brawl at Canadian Stampede, the King of the Ring match.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Go all the way and start there. That's one of my favorite feuds of that era.
That's great.
The end of the new generation era, going like before the Attitude Era. That was one of my favorite feuds. That whole period was Triple H and Mankind. The King of the Ring stuff, fucking beautiful.
Yeah, he beat him down with the crown. You know why he kept beating him up with the crown? Did you guys ever hear that story?
Because he didn't want to wear it.
Yeah, he hated the crown, so he just kept wrecking it every week, bashing Foley with it. He hated it because there was this big, ugly cartoon crown. It was terrible. So I thought that was pretty.
And was this not the feud with this initial feud? This is the feud that we started seeing the different faces of Foley, right?
Yeah, dude loved Summer of Love, baby, 97. Yeah, but and what's so great is, as great as this feud was, then you fast forward to 2000, and I think this is where Hunter found the game, and it's because of Mick Foley. And I'll always go to this segment where Foley did the reveal of Cactus Jack again, and the way that Hunter sold it with his face. You know what I mean? He could have just pointed and laughed. It would have ruined the whole segment. You know, Foley just took his shirt off and was like, Cactus Jack's coming to get you. You would have thought that Charles Manson just got released from jail and was coming at Triple H. Like, the way he sold it, and it was just the best work of Hunter's career, in my opinion.
Now we have heat. I wanted to bring that up. If you were to look at, if there is a way YouTube tracked like things you've watched most for segments, that's in my top 5. And it's perfect storytelling.
Yeah.
And the slow build, you know, it's not going to be me that faces you, but I found a suitable replacement, takes off the mask, and I think you know him pretty damn well, takes off the shirt, and there's the camera shots back before they did a camera cut every half a second.
Yeah.
Triple H before, during, after, and his face goes from, and I can't accurately represent the I'm going to die face.
Yeah.
And then Mick beating the crap out of fake Mankind was very cathartic. And that, when I said like there were 2 people that made Triple H a star, Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley. Yeah. And the Hell in a Cell match with the bump through the cell, through the ring, speaking of things embedded in my mind, and the flaming 2x4 barbed wire. That made Triple H, like you said, the game. That was Shawn Michaels Mankind Mind Games match. Mind Games is what made Mankind a wrestler to people.
I think that's his best wrestle. That is Mick Foley's best wrestling match.
Well, that's what Mick Foley says.
Yeah.
And that was what let people see Mick Foley as, he's not just a crazy guy that's going to bump around in a boiler room. And then fast forward a few years, and Mick Foley Triple H gives Triple H that edge. Yes. You know, the same way Mankind did for Edge as well later on. Like, it gave Triple H that the battle hardenedness that people would take him seriously.
They also had that great street fight in Madison Square Garden before the Royal Rumble match with Cactus's debut. That great segment where it was all 3 faces of Foley, and Triple H again with the facial expressions made that moment fantastic. This was the clear number 1 as far as I'm concerned. I think you nailed it.
One of my one moment, Mike keeps talking about moments that are just stuck there. Like you can close your eyes and you might as well have YouTube in your fucking head because you can see it. One of those moments, it's just a small moment, but it's that big blue cage, it's that cage match, and it's China slamming that fucking door in Mick Foley's head.
Yeah.
That's one of the pivotal moments of this entire, all their feuds, all their matches. Man, it shows how much they were willing to give to each other.
He said that was one of the most painful moves he's ever taken in the ring was that
I'm not
cage spot.
surprised.
And that's saying something, right?
I think that was one of the last big blue cage matches. Not the last, but one of the last.
If you guys that are listening really want to hear a in-depth breakdown of their entire Royal Rumble feud, check out the other show that we do with Anthony that we talked about, the Classic Match Classroom. We do a feature on this entire street fight, and from the beginning of their feud up until the street fight, we cover every week that they do. It's fantastic. This whole build is fantastic. Mike, I'm gonna let Mike tell us first. Mike, is there anybody that I left off this list? Yeah, what's
Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. Because if we're talking about making a star, and it was a short-lived feud, but in their match at Mania is top 3 greatest Mania openers of all time.
I'll give you that. Yep.
Bret Owen and Eddie somebody. Why am I gapping on this? Who did Eddie Guerrero?
Eddie and Ray?
Eddie and Ray.
They had a great one. Yeah, the triple
that was
threat.
I'll up you one, man. We've talked about this on the show. We both think that Triple H and Daniel Bryan is probably the second best opener in history. So yeah, we agree with you, man. It's one of the best.
So that one, it's just to give one to Triple H in the end of his career, as corporate guy, because that was so good. And again, the moments embedded when, the cops come out to arrest Daniel Bryan, and then that little look Triple H gives when he sends the cops away. Just the little look to Stephanie as he takes his coat off. It was so good.
Yeah,
and
great.
For a match that, I mean, I don't know what the Vegas odds are. I would have bet my house on Daniel Bryan winning that match because that's the storyline. There were a couple moments where I was like, are they going to have an All Evolution main event? Like, it was so good. So maybe I'm a Daniel Bryan mark. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know if I can kick Austin off, but yeah.
Listen, that whole build made #1 on my list of the greatest builds in WrestleMania history. That match makes my list for the second best opener in WrestleMania history. So I get it. I truly understand. But like you said, it was a short-lived feud. It didn't do much before or after it. So that's kind of why it got pushed off my list. I totally understand why it's on yours. Now, Tyler, the man missing from your list, is it Daniel Bryan?
It's not actually. I wasn't huge on their little rivalry for different reasons. I like that angle that you mentioned, though. I thought it was really good, but I wasn't a big fan of the whole build to WrestleMania for Daniel Bryan. I thought they could have done it differently. But that's going back before Triple H got involved. Like I thought they really missed the boat on a couple of opportunities that they should have pulled the trigger on with Bryan months before that. But that's a different podcast. I'm going to just say 3 names really quick, and then I'll tell you the one that I think should have been on the list.
Sure.
Henry Godwin, just because it was fun. It would never make a list. Seth Rollins, they did pretty decent, but again, I wouldn't put it on a list.
Okay. I think I know who it is.
There's 2 others that you could maybe talk about at your number 7, and that would be Vince McMahon and Chris Jericho. Because you got the start of the McMahon Helmsley era. I never
even considered Jericho, to be honest. I definitely considered Vince.
They had that great build to Fully Loaded Last Man Standing match. Hearing Jericho just to Stephanie, all the foul things that he would say to her. Yeah. I guess that's maybe more Stephanie than Triple H.
May I guess at the one you're about to say?
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering, because I considered this man a lot. If I'm right, I'm surprised that you would pick him. Is it Goldust?
No, it's not. It's Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, okay.
I would have put Kurt Angle.
Goldust came this close to being my number 7, by the way.
Yeah, they had good. I love Goldust, but Kurt Angle, man, you got to go all the way back to the love triangle with Stephanie McMahon. I thought that all the stuff they did was so good. The only thing that they didn't get, it's kind of like the same thing with The Rock, where they didn't have that big marquee match that
There is
matched
no,
the build.
yeah.
They fought at a
And-
No
and
Mercy. You know what I
I'm
mean?
gonna be honest with you, man. You mentioned this to me off camera about loving this. The only thing I truly remember, like we're talking about moments and closing your eyes and picturing things. The only thing I can picture and remember is that scene where Triple H comes in and, or no, it's not even the right. It's not even Kurt Angle. It's the
That was
fucking
Trish.
the Trish thing.
They did.
There was so much going on at that time. I don't remember any of it. That was a really muddled storyline for me. It didn't do as much for me as it did for you.
They did a lot of little things at the beginning of the year when Kurt first debuted. Like Stephanie would always say nice things about him, and Triple H would make a comment like that guy, and then he would book him against like Viscera, like in all these like big matches when they were doing the Power. They did the Love Triangle, and then fast forward with all the stuff with Kurt and Ronda against Stephanie and Triple H as well. I think I would have put him on over Orton. I think I
Okay.
might. But other than that, I don't hate your list, Mike, and I think
I apologize, gentlemen. I think my son just fell out of his bed. I got to go check on that.
we're
But you keep on that.
We're gonna take it home anyways, Mike. So
You do
great
that.
job on the list. And Mike, tell everybody where they can find you, and we're gonna let you go to bed because this thing went a lot longer than anticipated. But I'm gonna blame you because you're very entertaining, my friend.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm not a quiet person, and yeah, it's 10 after midnight, so I'm going to regret this in the morning. But quickly, the Kurt Angle image, how is it not him standing there with the far off look on his face while Triple H is winding up to punch him? One of the greatest screenshots in wrestling history.
100%.
So good. So yeah, where to find me? I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Jefferies PA. So MIKE. I'm not going to spell it. Mike Jefferies PA. You can find me. And of course, shout out Barrie Wrestling on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. They're just Barrie Wrestling on everything. Got the Patreon coming out. And yeah, April 9th, FLCC, Wrestling Community Church in Barrie. It's going to be an incredible show. If you can't make it, check out the Patreon. Support local indie. But you know what? Support your local indie. Wherever you are, unless the guy running it's a dick, support them.
Absolutely.
And buy merch. Buy merch
Yes.
off your favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, and off your favorite podcast, ProWrestlingTeesCountedout.com,
Yes.
right? Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Next time you come on, I promise you it won't be at 10 o'clock when we start recording, all right?
I'll hold you that. And
Thanks,
thank you so
Mike.
much, guys. It was an absolute pleasure. I'll see you on Saturday.
Absolutely. And on behalf of Double Mikes, you guys have all been counted out. Cheers.